awesome thing that happened in your business that you're proud of, that you want to share and inspire. Client referred a friend who is ready to go. Let's go. All right, Jerry. I don't know what Jerry had. Oh, Jerry, you just unmute yourself if you really want to get up after it. What do you got?
How's it going?
Good.
I'm hyped up. I'm hyped up today. Just got off the Mojo dialer. I banged out 377 calls and I got one hot lead and two appointments.
Awesome. One hot lead and two appointments. That's amazing. Great share. All right, who else has positive focus? Oh, my screen is going crazy. Camera's on so we can see all the pretty faces. All right, everyone has participated, so we're not leaving this section of the training and getting to the life-changing stuff until everyone either goes in the chat. And if you're new here or if you're a guest, we start out every training. Well, first of all, welcome. And we start out every training with just a little bit of good news last 7 days. Real estate is super hard. There's lots of stuff that could go wrong. So we want to focus. We want to focus on the things that are going good. So everyone pull, even if it's a little thing, even if it's like, I had a cup of coffee with a past client. That was the best thing all last week. The ice is gone. That's not a business problem. Oh, I guess it is. If you can't show homes because there's ice all over everything, I guess it technically is. My bad. I don't know. Sohail, it's a direct productionmastermind.com is a direct link. We don't have
it asks for a password or a meeting ID.
Password.
That's how I got in,
With a password?
without a password.
Yeah.
You have to be logged into your Zoom account.
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
they're trying to circumvent Zoom. There is a passcode 888000. But generally people don't need the passcode, but try that one or just have them log into Zoom.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Allison says we're in. Thanks, Sohail. All right, Lily says, new to real estate, making calls today and getting my business card set up this week. I'm here first time in a while. Kathy Burns, what is up? There's two Kathy Burns. I think Kathy C. Burns has a listing near where I live, and I see Kathy C. Burns when I drop off my kids to Arborbrook and I'm coming back on 12 Mile Creek. Kathy, did you have a listing on the left there? I think for a while you did. I saw your pretty face. All right, so celebrating clients under contract at only $952,000. What the heck? That's so good, Allison. $1 million client that was referred to me, Kathy Burns. Amazing. Richard Byers coming on board and should start showing houses next week or so. Jill, Wyoming. Jill, our Wyoming winter weather is amazing. Supposed to be 70 degrees today. That's amazing. But people are loving the weather and out looking at properties. I have 4 properties under contract last 5 days, plus 2 new listings. Amazing. If you guys like that are just crushing it. So Jill, is there anything you want to share about what you did to generate all that opportunity? 6 under contract this weekend. What the heck, Sohail? So either Jill or Sohail, if you guys have anything to share, like, yeah, there's no magic to it. It's just I've been consistent for 90 days. I would love to hear that. Or if there's some magic, share that too.
I'll share.
Hey, this is
just
Jerry. Oh, hey, Mark.
it's just talking to people. I mean, and you don't necessarily have to call canceled, expired, for sale by owners. I got a tip actually from Kevin Sturdivant. I'm not sure if anybody here knows Kevin out in Orange County. His business blew up, and he said that he just has his top producers. They start off by they pick an area to farm of 3,000 to 5,000 homes, and they just focus their time on that. And if you look at the statistics for converting your database, they say like 10%. You can convert an area of 3,000 to 5,000 homes and focus on that by reaching out to them in some form 4 to 6 times a year. And if you can convert even 5%, that's 150 homes.
Yeah, Stacy, what was the guy's name that owned like 10 city blocks in Chicago? and he like knew every home. I forget his name, but it was the same deal. Like
Lee Marcus.
Lee Marcus, yeah, this guy like knew like, oh yeah, that whole house is on the corner, and and he would basically just like befriend this farm, and it started as like super cold, but they just knew that he was going to call them all the time, and he built it as a database. To your point, Sohail, it wasn't this like, I've never been a cold caller, but if you approach it like, okay, I'm going to own this 4,000 home subdivision and I'm going to do open houses there. I'm going to call them. I'm going to do a weekly market, a monthly market update for the subdivision. And you can build it into just an extension of your database. I love that. That's awesome. 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 All right.
And you don't have to call. You can do postcards one day. You can door knock, 1/4, postcards 1/4, call 1/4, send them something 1/4.
Yeah.
For me, I put 3 under contract this weekend, and it was pretty awesome. It was all Q3 of last year. I really dialed in on the database marketing through B School, and then by into Q4, I had that. I mean, it was up and running, and I got 3 deals out of my personal circle that all came from the work I was doing with the database marketing.
Yeah, and how much does that initial work suck when you're just like starting with a
goodness.
crap
Yeah.
shit database, and
Yeah.
it's not fun, right?
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
It was like 2 weeks every night at home on the couch. My wife's like, "Are you here with me, or are you?" Nope, in my database. Like, I'll love you in 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding, but
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a really good, we kind of covered that yesterday on a call where like it is like once you make a commitment, we'll cover some of it today. Like once you can make a commitment to get somewhere in the future, at least this is the way my brain thinks, is like, then the commitment is done. And then you can't go back and be like, oh crap, now I got to do like the things to get there.
Yeah.
Like never ever have the things to get there been the fun part. Like the fun part's like, oh man, it would be awesome to sell, 3, 4, 10, 20 homes a year, but the things you got to do to get there, at least initially, to get the systems up and running, to get the database in order, to get a rhythm around social media or whatever other lead gen leverage you guys are installing. So
Well,
really
and it
good
doesn't
start.
come the way I thought it would. So like one of them was it's an off market that my business partner and I we bought because we were able to save it out of foreclosure this week. Like we literally had like it's under contract, and then the payment will be made tomorrow to save it from being foreclosed down this week. That came from a referral out of that, and then one came from an agent referral through out of my database, and then one was like how like you would think traditional, it was somebody called me from there looking to buy.
Yeah, that's awesome. 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 All right. If you haven't given a positive focus yet, get in the chat. And I said it yesterday, this inspires, us to keep serving this community and just to hear all the wins. And for some of you that don't have the wins, we'll cover some of it today. You just got to put in a couple, 3 months of focused effort, and then you'll be on here saying, I've got 3 or 4 under contract. I just took 2 listings, and we'll talk about, about some of that today. Kelly, 2 referrals this week, also got 81% open rate with HomeBot in the last 30 days from database sellers. That is amazing. Kelly, you've talked about this before. Can you unmute yourself? And I'm generally the guy that says don't do anything. None of it works. It's all squirrels. But I've only heard good things about HomeBot. So are you just straight up using the system or anything special about it?
No, we're just using it. So every month, everybody that's in there that I keep putting in for anyone that owns a property. So even if they come in as a buyer lead, I check them out. If they own a property, they're going in HomeBot. And people love it. It just gives information that you don't get otherwise. So
yeah, and HomeBot is not real expensive, right?
No, $25 a month for 500 people, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. So that's like automatic. Kelly, you got a referral code for them, an affiliate code? You should get an affiliate code.
I should.
Because I don't have one. That's awesome. Sohail says, can you sync Homeboy with your database, or do you need to add them in one by one?
You can sync it, or you can add them in one by one. It always auto corrects me to Homeboy too.
Yeah, no, I liked Homeboy better. That was good. That's awesome. So not that you need my blessing, but anyone that like is running a decent business and knows their numbers like Kelly says that something like that works. I can send out an email and it could say like gold, 100-ounce gold bar inside, and I'll get like a 32% open rate. Like my best emails with like I'm thinking and I'm chat GPTing like the best, subject lines for open rates. So 81% is ridiculous. That's really, really good. Awesome. Lots of training for sure. Love HomeBot. So another recommendation on HomeBot. Anyone I have an email goes in there. So that's amazing. So let me ask you, either Kelly or Scott, or any HomeBot users, do you need to know their address, or can you send them an invite and they can put in their address and receive the updates?
I think you can send them an invite, and I think they can invite other people as well once they're in their account. So if you give them that blessing, maybe they'll do that and you have other people show up.
Mm.
There's two ways I use it. One, if I have their email and address, I can put it in there. But you can also send a home valuation, and anybody can sign up that way with their email and their address.
Yeah. Awesome. So it can be like your home eval tool. So you can have like a market update that goes out once a week, and you could say, PS, if you want to know the value of your home, click here for a free home market evaluation. Then it'll take them into a generic process with HomeBot, essentially. Awesome. That's good. All right, Gustavo's coming in hot with the all caps. Do you use HomeBot together with KV Core? Won't leads be bombarded with all these spams? No, Kelly was saying that, it was like a quarter of the success or open rate in KV Core's eval. So this would probably run external to that. And if you guys are running a touch system, these are just some of those touches. So whether it's set up for probably monthly, I would guess is the frequency, but they probably have a choice. You would just count the HomeBot eval as if it's monthly, 12 of your 60 touches. And you've got a lot of flexibility around the 60 touches. It must be 60 touches. So it could be a monthly market update where you just do a Facebook Live or you record a video on Loom with a screen share. You're using the slides that Stacy goes through and some local stats. So that's 12 touches. HomeBot could be 12 such touches. A real estate tip once a month could be 12 touches. And a neighborhood review or business interview once a month could be 12. That's 48 touches. Right? So you're just recording videos and you're emailing them out, or you're going on Facebook Live, and it sort of duplicates on social. Really, really awesome. Nicole did an open house, met a buyer client who just went under contract and now working with their daughter and found them home. Amazing. They also just told me their mother-in-law is wanting to purchase 3 deals from one open house. What the heck? And some people say open houses don't work. I can't imagine if you do them consistently and you put out the signs that they won't work in most markets, assuming you pick the right open house. It's not like buried 19 turns into the middle of like Nowhereville neighborhood. Awesome. Let's see here. I was using HomeBot with moderate success, but also if you reach out, tell me stop spamming them. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most homeowners want to know the value of their home. So unless you're like legit spamming, I wouldn't recommend using any tool for legit spamming. But once you have a conversation, so those nurtures, who was saying, was it Jerry, set 2 appointments and 1 nurture? You end those nurture conversations like, hey, Jerry, sounds like maybe you're not ready to do anything right now. Is it okay if I just send you a home eval? Right. And then I'll just kind of keep you up to date on the market. And they'll say, yeah, totally. All right, I'm going to push the button. Oh, Siri just said it's nice to be right. And then you just push the button on it and just make sure they receive it. Take a little bit of time at the end of that, at the end of that call. And then you're just starting the relationship. You're adding value, and it's on autopilot. Success 101, killed all my squirrels. That's amazing. Spoke to first-time home buyers class and picked up 7 buyer leads. Awesome. Also did a few open houses for other agents and grabbed buyer lead. needs to sell 2 houses in addition to buy one. 3, and again, 3 deals from an open house. Picked up 2 buyers at open house and got 1 under contract already. So that's 3. If you guys missed, if you're a guest, make sure you go back to the person that invited you here, ask them for the open house training we did on one of these production masterminds. It was really, really good. So 3 folks got 2 got 3 deals and 1 got 2 deals from open houses. So if you're struggling for business, just call agents at your brokerage in your office that have listings and ask them if you can hold their listings open this weekend. And then follow that training that we did. I think it was like 5-6 months ago. Jessica gave a training on it. All right. Man, that was good. I can go for the rest of the call just hearing all the awesomeness from you guys, but we're not going to do that. We're going to talk a little bit today about personal leadership and accountability. All right, let me see more cameras on. I think to get started, we need at least 1 screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 7. So that might be a tall ask. So I've got 49 on my front screen. So if I make it 36, I want to get a whole screen of faces. So Eric, Megan, Brad, Wes, Richie, Mark, Mike, Harrison, Melissa, Lola, Jeff, Maggie, Chris Mullenberg, stop doing deals. So if you guys can turn your cameras, that'd be amazing. And we'll get the training officially started here. And I've got a new setup on my computer. So let me see if I can. So the only bad news I have is for anyone that was in, and I know Jerry was there, but if anyone was in Fort Lauderdale, this is going to be a repeat of that training with a different name, different stories, and a lot of engagement. So I need you guys to play all out with this. We're going to go through just personal leadership and accountability here. So let me see. Let me see here. All right, present. All right. Stacy, does that look okay?
Yep.
All right, beautiful. All right, let me get you guys on the side here so I have some faces to look at. All right, so let's get after here. So I guess I'll kind of preface this this conversation with I've like made all the mistakes you can make in business. Yet I didn't let any of those mistakes sort of be the fuel for me to sit where I was. And not all of it was, you know, in complete alignment with my spouse. And, you know, I definitely pissed her off multiple times working when I shouldn't have. And I wasn't present as a dad when I should have been. And I didn't take care of my physical body the way that I probably needed to for some of my journey. So I say all of that to say here that I'm going to give you a lot of best practices of what I would recommend in terms of, you know, achieving in multiple areas of your life. But I'm doing it from the position of having like all of the hindsight and all of the, you know, I don't want anyone to feel like they're massively behind if you're not doing all of these things. A lot of this is going to be aspirational for a lot of you. And I want these 8 points to serve as a blueprint where ultimately over time, you're going to work toward understanding some of the things that we're going to go through. And I need a high level of engagement. If there are any questions, I'm going to pull up my chat on the right side here. Any questions or challenges, and I'll kind of prompt you guys as well here. I want you guys to slow down and we can kind of cover things and especially comments along the way. So let's get after it. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on my personal story, but I had a big why. I wanted to be a great dad, great husband, make a ton of money. You know, left a cozy, you know, multiple 6-figure corporate job to get into real estate. This is like 8 months into the business. The market was crashing at this point. Inventory was shooting straight through the roof. My brilliant plan to become a real estate agent didn't seem so brilliant. And here I am, like no clue, Julie at this point is like, I don't even know if she's gonna make it. It was like this really challenging childbirth that we went through. And I'm like trying to feed this kid here. And it was just a weird moment. But I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm just not gonna let you down. Um, I'm not gonna cry. Jerry, or at least Jerry saw me. Who else saw me cry last weekend? Yep, Sohail did. Jerry.
It
All right.
it was phenomenal.
Yeah, so we'll kind of leave a bit. We'll leave that away from this one. A year in, so Anders is around, like he looks the size of like 1 year old at this point. He doesn't know that I'm not really firing on all cylinders, but it definitely wasn't working. This is me ruining a family vacation. Raise your hand if you've pissed off your spouse on a. Please let me not be alone in raising my hand. Stacy's with me. Who else? Kelly's with me. Not a lot of hands raised. You guys are like unplugged for weeks at a time on vacation and not checking your phones. That's amazing. Good job. Good job. But I did really have a plan. I promise I had a plan. I'm like, there's no way I can grind like this industry is forcing me so early in my journey. And I did have a why. I'm not going to tell the story of my dad, but I chose the achievement route coming out of a really chaotic dad wasn't around, alcoholic, divorce, no money as a kid, like less than no money as a kid. And so I was driven, highly driven to fire on all cylinders. Like I wanted to be the, great dad. I wanted to be a great husband. I wanted to kick ass in business and kind of do all the things. My question for you, and it's really, in my mind, it's really, really important that you guys understand why you're doing this. And I want you to take a moment, and for those of you that are brave enough, I want you to write down 3 reasons that you want to do this and share them in the chat if you're willing. So B School stands for, we want to help you make $1 gazillion a year. And we want to help you do that while having a life, taking more time off. And ultimately, if we can achieve those 2 things, we know that you'll have massive, massive impact in whatever, in your family, in your community, in the world even, right? So typically it goes in that order. We've got to check the box on money. We've got to check the box on not working 70 hours a week so that you can have a little bit of margin and mental rack space to be able to impact in other areas. So share some of your, and even if you don't share them, I want you to articulate, write these down. These are the things that are going to drive you to do the things that we're going to ask you to do over time. Choices, freedom, peace, myself, my family, freedom from stress, family, provide good times and experiences for my children, to give my husband time off. He's a great provider and is worn out, to bless my grandkids. That's great, Katie. Spend more time with our 2 sons, more financial stability, predictability, eventually get to take a vacation. Time, money, location, mindset freedom. Love that. Unlimited income potential, 2 more time to do things I love, financial security for the future, be able to give back, build generational wealth for my family, aviation goals, Samuel, like it, financial location freedom, family retirement, take care of my special needs child, amazing, Scott. The journey of becoming more. I like that, Justin. Mark, I want to be the example for my kids. I want to live the same lifestyle in retirement that I live now. That's awesome. The reason I'm reading all these, when I first got started along this path to like building a business plan, and like nobody had taught me any of that crap before, or like why. And some of it, I like looked at what other people were writing and saying and how they articulated like why they were doing things. And so hopefully some of this is inspiration for you guys. Break the poverty cycle from childhood. Stacy Peterson, what's that book? The one you like, the one in your family. I know you.
Oh,
Power one.
the power of one more.
Yeah.
Ed Milet.
Ed Milet. Yeah. So if you need general, you brought that up in one of your talks, Stacy. If you need general good inspirational content. Ed Milet is really good. I like his stuff. And that Power One, like a lot of us are the one in our family. Like if you look back in your family and you're the one that's breaking, breaking the pattern. Great legacy, time to be with my daughter, unlike my dad. Oh, that's a good one. Money to provide an amazing life for daughter, wife, and me, build a solid foundation for kid. Yeah, so Harrison, all that is like exactly my motivation. So if you can figure out a way to harness that and just remind yourself, even if it's like, I've got a picture back there that reminds me of like the early days of doing this. Even if it's having a picture with you in your car, at your desk, a screensaver on your phone that is constantly reminding you why you're doing this. Time, financial freedom, do what I love, give back, family, generational curses for my children, lower my stress, anxiety, create massive income, be able to give more. Jerry, life is short, leave an impact on the world, give my children the best of me, enjoy God's green earth, good health, spread the name of Jesus, contribute to ministry. Awesome. Chris, achieve time, location, freedom, spend more time with family, coach others. Really good, guys. Single mom of 3, need financial security, travel to be able to reset, get a beach house. All really, really good stuff. So make sure that you've got this somewhere that you can refer to on a regular basis, because nothing you're going to have to do to achieve at the highest levels, if that's something that you want, is going to be easy. And there are going to be days where you're just like, I don't feel like doing any of this crap today. And you're just going to remind yourself, if your why is big enough, you're going to drive through those moments where you don't feel like Jerry was saying, doing the database work, 2 weeks of hell, where his wife was probably, like, hey, like 7th night in a row where you're physically there, but like you're an empty shell. And it's like, just give me a couple weeks. I've got to get my database together. It's worth a lot of money for us, right? So let me go through some of the things before I get into the 8 things, some of what I'm thinking about. The market is definitely, I don't know if you guys have seen this chart in the book Shift by Gary Keller. We're just going through this now, where if you look at the available income is that first bar, that has turned sharply. Middle of 2022 is when our transactions got cut, when interest rates went through the roof. All of 2023, we saw maybe 65% of the normal amount of transactions. The number of agents, as the income was going down drastically, the agents didn't realize it yet, right? So the agents lag, the income going down, and now we're coming down on agents, but we're still in this survival zone. I think this year we're going to come out of it. So I think we're still going to have a lot of agents leave the industry this year, and I think we're going to start to pick up. I think we'll probably do more units in the US in 24 than we did in 2023. And that's probably more likely in most markets. But the whole goal is to get through this market, probably double and triple down on the things that you need to do to be busy. And then it's just going to shoot up like a rocket ship. And I think I was lucky to get into real estate when I did. I was going to succeed. Well, we went from 15,000 agents to 5,000 agents in Charlotte in the like 8, 9, 10, or even 9, 10, 11 timeframe. And then when everything came back, everything just fired up. Like it was like everyone was super busy. I had 5 or 6 agents. Everyone went to 30, 40, 50 transactions per year, and it was a really good time. So I think it's a time to get excited. I think a lot of this market's going to eat a lot of agents alive, because mentally you're not going to be able to, I mean anyone not on this call, everyone on this call is going to be able to do this, but a lot of agents are going to get in their head and they're going to make a lot of excuses about why they can't be successful. And they're going to tell themselves, well, interest rates are still high. People can't sell their homes because they're locked in at rates. And they're going to tell themselves all these external factors, and that's going to almost force them to not do the things that you need to do to be successful. And that's why when we start with positive focus and you hear other agents like closed 5 deals last week, it's like 5 deals, what the F? Like I didn't close no deals in January and you closed 5. And then that's why I'll ask the question like, okay, what's the secret? Well, the secret is I just have a lot of conversations consistently every day, and they vary from all different things, right? But I'm just committing to 20 to 25 conversations a day, no matter what. So I think it's time to get excited. I will say I'm trying my best to only follow a few sources. I'm very interested in what the impact is going to be on real estate, as far as the economy and a soft landing or hard landing or war and some kind of, what's it called when like COVID was a one-time event. What do they call those events again? Someone put it in the chat. It's like there's a name for it. All right, Black Swan. Yeah. So hopefully we don't get a Black Swan event, but we're like on the verge of like blowing countries up in something, So I think you can go too far into keeping up with all of that and get yourself in a fear cycle that will keep you out of the activities. There's a really good daily, and I'm going to give a lot of resources. I want you guys to write these down. It's called the Pour Over. So it's actually in my email. I haven't read it today. The POUR over OVER, and it comes to my inbox, and it basically gives me 3 news stories every day. So I feel like if the world blew up yesterday, I would find out about it at 8 a.m. the next day. If my only news source was the pour over, and there's like a 5-minute podcast that goes along with it. So, and this is one of those things, and I'll talk about it later. If you're in too much stuff, just be honest with yourself that that's probably taking you out of the sweet spot in terms of being a productive agent and doing the things. So a lot of agents, I've had a lot of conversations recently where there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around like, are we going to even be around as real estate agents? How do I get paid anymore? The class action lawsuit. And, somebody said it, I think it was last week, like one word said noise. That if you let that stuff, you need to pay attention to it, but you need to stay out of it. Right? You're going to deal with, like, if you don't run the buyer process right and you get to a home and it's like, all right, this is the home, we're so excited. And then you're like, oh crap. You look at the MLS sheet and there's a $0 in there. You're going to adapt and figure it out. You will not let it happen again. You will not go out with a client without a signed loyalty or, state agency agreement ever again. And you're going to figure out your buyer presentation. You're going to get burned once and that's it. Right? But you've got to stay out of the FUD. Just double down on the activities that generate business and don't get worried about the business, changing forever. It's not going to change dramatically. The best thing about our industry is that all these little MLSs serve as monopolies in their markets. So there is no way to roll up MLSs. There may be someday. Zillow's done it by getting data feeds into every MLS and selling your listing leads, your buyer leads back to you, but there's no way to roll up the MLSs. They're independently owned and operated. And, so that's a good thing for our industry. We'll be around for a long, long time. One thing too is that I've talked to a lot of agents that have not adjusted. Generally speaking, you need to spend less than you make. That's how you build massive wealth. It doesn't happen in an instant. It's not a grand, event. All of a sudden you have, multiple 7 figures in your bank account. Especially in times of uncertainty, you need to make sure. Someone said this tip, like they go in their credit card and it was on the All In podcast, which is my favorite podcast. It's 4 really smart guys that are like on different sides politically. And so I get like a good sense. That's one of the news sources that I subscribe to. But Jay Cal, the guy that moderates, said he goes in like every 3 months and he turns like a button on in his credit card to not allow charges like above a certain, like basically says allow no automatic charges or something, which essentially just tripwires that he has to renew everything and make a decision. He'll get all these declines and make a decision again if he wants to actually do that thing or that subscription or whatnot. I feel like at a minimum twice a year, you need to print out all of your, credit cards and go through and just say, keep, get rid of, keep, get rid of, keep, get rid of, and just do that constantly. It's too easy in this business to just sign up for stuff. And then you're like, I signed up for the Motley Fool. This is going to be horrible. It was an annual subscription, and I found out like 7 years later that I was paying like $300 a year. They had charged 6 times that I missed because it was just a one-time annual charge. And then I found I caught one, and I'm like, I spent $2,000 and I never went into whatever the Motley Fool is, right? So you definitely don't want to let that happen. All right, so let's get into the tactics here. And we're pretty good on time. If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, it probably is the best book as far as, you know, we're mostly, well, probably we're just a byproduct of our habits, good or bad. And this book helps you diagnose the good from the bad and how to shift and create these little triggers where you can get in a better habit around whatever area you're trying to improve on. I love this quote because as I go through these, some of you are going to say, not doing that, not doing that, not doing that, not doing that. So there's no blame or shame, but becoming the type of person you want to become, someone who lives by a stronger standard, someone who believes in themselves, someone who can be counted on by the people that matter to them, is about the daily process you follow and not the ultimate product you achieve. So the blessing here is that every day is a new day, which I think is amazing. And everything we've done up to this moment in time, good, bad, and ugly, serves as fuel for whatever is to come in the future. And that's just, to me, that's just awesome, right? So don't go into any of this with any blame or shame, or like, I'm not doing this, or I'm not where I need to be. I will say that there probably isn't anything I'm going to go through that you haven't heard. But just ask yourself, am I actually doing this? Or is this the time I should be implementing this? Super simple stuff. A lot of it's not very easy. So there's 8 of them we're going to go through. And these are all what I believe are prerequisites for massive time, money, stress freedom, whatever freedom you're looking for, and ultimately impact. So the first one is just your time is money. I can't tell you how many agents you will get to a point, even if you're not there yet, where you'll be capped on the number of hours you can work because your week is filled with either completely non-productive stuff or you're just doing low dollar activity. So the income you've been making in real estate is simply the result of the choices you've been making with your time. Unless there's some massive extenuating circumstance where you have someone that you've been caring for and they've been physically ill, or that's a different circumstance. But if you've been working 40 to 50 plus hours a week in real estate for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years, where you are today is just a function of the choices you've been making, and hopefully we'll change some of those. This is we never called it Business Freedom Index until like 3-4 years ago. But the amount of money you make, and I just calculate this, I still calculate this. I take on my tax return, I do it once a year. I take my AGI, my adjusted gross income, and I divide it by, I go back in my calendar and I actually count up my hours. Now, so I go back the whole year in the calendar and I just count up my hours. And so if your AGI, which is your pre-tax income on your tax return, let's say it was 200,000 and you worked a 40-hour work week and you took 2 weeks vacation, that'd be 2,000 hours. 40 hours times 50 weeks is 2,000 working hours in a year. 200,000 divided by 2,000 is $100 per hour. If you want to take home $500,000 and you keep the same habits, you're going to have to work 2.5 times as many hours. And I've seen guys doing it. I've seen guys working 90, 100 hours a week and taking home 400 or 500 grand. Once you realize that you could work the same amount of hours and just delegate and automate things that really you don't need to be spending time with. Stacy did an awesome training. I don't know when it was, or if we can grab the link to it. If we grab the link, make sure, Annalise, it's off the YouTube list. And Stacy, remember, you may remember when you did it, hiring a VA. Even if, oh, what'd you say, Stacy?
Oh, sorry, I didn't even know I was unmuted. I said, oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if somebody can grab the link to the unlisted YouTube playlist where we have that training and drop it in the link, that'd be awesome. So you have to be aware of this. I first ran this, you don't even want to know, it was less than 20 bucks an hour when I first ran this calculation for my first 10 months in real estate. And I just committed that I was going to make 500,000 and work 40 hours a week, $250 an hour. And I viewed my time different from that moment on. Even though I was doing the menial tasks at that point, still critically important tasks, they were just lower dollar level. I knew I would had to get them off my plate if I wanted to make 250, 500, $1,000 an hour. And so once you start thinking about your time differently, doesn't matter where you are in the journey, right? You'll figure out ways to not. So you've got to know where your start number is. You got to know where you want to go. And it's going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It took me 3 years to go from less than 20 bucks an hour to $250 an hour. But then it only took a year to go from 250 to 500, another year to go to from 500 to 1,000, then 2,000, then 3,000. So like it may take you a couple, 3 years to get organized and to double down on new business development to the point where you can buy back your time a little bit. You know what I mean? So don't judge it based on the next 90 days, judge it over the next 3 years, which is, 12 90-day periods. All right, so the number two is most agents are in this like massive chaos all the time. Wake up in the morning, you're on your phone, you're opening email, you're in social media, there's no rhyme or reason to the day. So we want to put you in a situation where it's controlled chaos. This was from a book. I don't know that I would recommend the book, although I can't imagine it would be a bad book to read. It was from Dane Kennedy, and it was No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. At the time, it was the second edition, but I think there's a third edition now. But this definition is straight from that book. Productivity is the deliberate strategic investment of your time, talent, intelligence, energy, resources, and opportunities in a manner calculated to move you measurably closer to meaningful goals. So my takeaway from this is deliberate and strategic investment of time, energy, in a way that's moving me closer to my goals. And over time, you could just do a better job on the daily, making sure more of your time is actually productive according to some definition like this versus just, I got through the day. I don't know what I achieved. I don't have a lot to show for it, right? We can't have too many days like that. We need to be productive and focus on productivity. So you want to focus on the things that are a high return on time. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there's only 5 things that make a ridiculous amount of money in real estate. And I'm saying a ridiculous amount of money, $1,000 plus an hour. If you could only do these things for, let's say, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, you would be ridiculously wealthy. The problem is it just takes a little bit of time to delegate, automate, the 90-day process around passion and pay that we go through in our quarterly planning. But it's prospecting, lead follow-up, appointments, first-time appointments with buyers and sellers, negotiating those buyers and sellers under contract, not appraisal, not repair negotiations, and then building systems. That's it. 5 things. And you could just think of all the other things you do that have to get done, but they're not making you a ridiculous amount of money. So conceptually, vision in the future, we have to put you in a position where you're buying back your time, right? All right, so defending your time. So who here has heard of time blocking? Anybody? Kathy Burns has heard of it? Yep. Joe has not heard of it, didn't raise his hand. Yep, there he goes. I know, I saw you nodding, Joe. I'm just teasing you. So we've got to defend our time. I mentioned it before. It is the completely insane industry, right? If you're married, you got kids, you're trying to spend a little bit of time with your creator, maybe work out, maybe have a hobby, and you're in real estate. There's like, I tell people when they have 3 or 4 kids, I'm like, well, the problem is you have, 1 or 2 extra kids. Like Matt Greco, I think I told him that directly. I'm like, Matt, the problem is you've got 4 kids. It's too many, right? So we got to get 2 to move out of the house and then everything will be fine. So real estate is hard. Life is hard. And having the chaos and the drama of all of our clients, getting in all that drama and getting so baked into the transaction and the emotions, and it becomes overwhelming. Competing priorities all the time. On top of that, information overload by everything, whether it's YouTube or social, definitely a real struggle. Here's the thing though, and this, I think in a perfect world, if you could just sit with yourself and think about, you know, what's getting in the way of me putting the time into the areas of the business that I know I need to focus on more. Are there any obvious things that are getting in my way? Right? And I've told the story, I'll tell it again. I think he's on this call. I think he's actually on this call. I had a call with someone. And I made them take out their phone and pull up their timer app on their phone. And I said, "What's the number one app?" He said, "Instagram." And I said, "How many hours?" And he told me the hours, and it was not a good number. So you can use social media to generate business, but you're in and out, right? You're in with intention, you're doing your stuff, and then you're out, right? So you got to be honest with yourself. I don't know how to know where I'm supposed to be unless it's in my calendar. You know, so we have a very specific time blocking, you know, we have a calendar that we want you guys to follow. And it's really the same if you're leading others or if you're an individual agent. You've got to honor your time blocks. Cash will follow the calendar, 100% guaranteed. If you talk to any person that closed 2, 3, 4, 5 homes in the last week that did a positive focus, I promise that the cash in their bank account, it's a function of their ability to protect time daily. And this is the calendar, right? So this is worth screenshotting if you're not running a calendar. You know, I like the color code. I like money to be green. I like red to be, you know, either personal time or family time, like non-negotiable. It's important that I think the red stands out when I look at this on my screen. And it's like, okay, well, I know that I'm going to serve myself a little bit, fuel up, you know, spiritually. I'm going to get a little bit of maybe chaos with the family, but maybe a little bit of funny moments, you know, in the morning. This is the process I ran most of my journey, but I also run very similar to this right now, in terms of the red areas, and then negotiate some later appointments with your spouse if you have a spouse. Not every evening is up for grabs, right? So they've got a couple late appointments. Your mornings are to fill up your afternoons. That's it. And then if you don't have a new buyer consultation or a new seller consultation in one of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I did Saturdays by appointment only, but let's say you had 12 time blocks in your calendar to meet with a buyer or seller for the first time. So you're spending 3 hours of new business development and an hour of lead follow-up every day in the morning, Monday through Friday. You're going to create way more opportunity than you're not going to fill 12 slots in the afternoon. So you have plenty of time to work on systems or to do whatever you need to do or double down on more new business development. But you really do have to honor some kind of calendar. I'm going to go through number 4 quickly. It's you know, I think I was blessed with the type of brain that thinks in systems, but we have to play a different game in business. If you want the ability to be able to have a overflowing bank account and put yourself in a position where you can enjoy that financial freedom, right? I don't want you to have money and then be divorced, you know, or have a heart attack because you didn't have any time to work out. We've got to play a different game. You have to think in systems. Again, another quote from Atomic Habits, and I heard some of the props. Oh, good point, Kelly. Holy cow, I can't believe I missed that. Time study. Annalise, if you can post the PDF. So if you can post a viewable copy of, I think it's called in the drive, just go in the drive and you can find the Rebs time study. I don't even know. You'll curse me for the first part of it. Here's the recommendation, though. I think Kelly said she shared this on one of our calls. When you do the time study, try to do it minimum 7 days. It's a 14-day. Do it without changing your habits. I have people come up to me and they're like, man, by day 2, everything was working great. Like I was already, you know, on point. I wasn't checking email. But literally just try to document your time because we want like an accurate snapshot of where you're spending your time. And then you can go through a series of like, you actually know what you can automate or delegate, or if you're on social or you're on different whatever, right? Running errands, there's, business admin, personal admin that you'll categorize. So you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So I would just consume the book. I think I've read it like 4 times, Atomic Habits. That's really, really good. So we've decided, at least I've decided, if you're on this journey with me, that we're just going to play a different game. We're going to think about the business like, okay, even if I'm the only one running this game, this pipeline, that we're just going to play a different game. We're going to spend the time to set up the lead gen levers. We're going to apply the discipline and honor our time blocks to have meaningful conversations, and we have daily commitments made there. We're going to go for one consultation set every day. So 5 set a week. We're going to meet with 4, and we're going to sign 3 new clients a week, or 4-3-2, right? And then we're going to get leverage around that, the client servicing part, because we're going to try to spend more time on, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? All your money is made in real estate. Well, setting up your lead gen levers is the far top of pipeline. And then 1, 2, 3, and 4 is where you make all your money. Most agents spend all of their time once they sign a client and getting them to the closing table. You may have to do it to start, so I'm not saying go out and hire a licensed admin today. Ultimately, though, you're gonna have to buy back your time with like a kick butt local, even if you pay them just a percentage at closing and they're sort of your listing or your business partner, and they can't generate their own business, they in this market, they'd be happy to work for 10-15% of every deal. And they could do their own 4 or 5 deals SOI, on the side. Right? So just think about the game differently. And then think about like building a business. Our required reading, if you're new to our coaching world, is 2 books. We send out Atomic Habits and E-Myth. So E-Myth is just, they don't give you the roadmap on how to do it, but it really impresses upon you that most of us, even if it's a highly paid job, it's just a job. It's not a business. And if we go away for a week, or 2 weeks, there could be like literally nothing left when we come back, and we don't want it that way. So I'm not going to go through the drivers and accelerators, but you definitely want to focus on that. I got to hustle here. So create your future. This is number 5. This is my first business plan. I went beast mode on it. This was late 2009, before I hired my first agent. I just had all the things I was going to focus on. I was very intentional about it. I made 20 laminated copies of it. I did a different style for 2011, but I had professional categories. I had personal categories. I now go through a process called Living Forward with Michael Hyatt. Highly recommend it. It's a book, and you basically just carve out a whole day. And he actually just came out with a different product too. I forget the name of it, but it's around this life planning process. Highly, highly recommend it. And essentially, it's to make sure that you are achieving it in all the different areas, but you're not putting yourself in a position where you're going to have regret. Really, really good. So real quick, just listen for a second. The reason we have like massively successful folks that achieve all the freedoms that we talked about in the beginning, and really struggling folks that are never getting out of the grind and never like lifting the plane off the runway or even getting out of the gate, is that the most successful have a vision of the future. So, and we go through this in Real Estate B School, right? It's, where do I want to be 3 years from now? What must happen in the next year to get closer to the 3-year? Let's break this down into quarters. Let's break it down into weeks, and then on the daily. So it doesn't become this like massively overwhelming thing. Like, I know the things I need to do need to feed into the week, winning the week, crushing the quarter, so I can like actually achieve my plans for the year and ultimately get closer to my vision. And the 3-year vision, not in a bad way, is a moving target. So every year we're putting out a different 3-way vision. And that's worked surprisingly well. If I'll talk to an agent 15 years in the business, they have no money in the bank. They literally can't afford, to invest in themselves. They're stuck trying to dominate their day. every day is like Groundhog Day. It's like, I'm going to get up and try to make some stuff happen. And it's not stitched together in some kind of beginning with the end in mind. So it's really, really important. And don't overthink this, right? In the areas of life that are important to you, just write on a piece of paper, where do I want to be 3 years from now in my marriage, in my physical body, in my business, my bank accounts, my impact, with my children, with my spouse. And then say, okay, what can I do this year to get closer in each of those areas? And then maybe I can go on a 3-day weekend with my spouse this quarter. Or maybe this quarter I can commit to a 30-minute walk 4 times a week, right? You just make these micro commitments, and then in the week, make sure you do your shit. And then on the day, make sure you do the work that you probably don't want to do. That's a frog. Eat that frog, Brian Tracy. All right, Got to Turn Pro. Really good book. I know Matt. Matt, you love this book too, right? Stephen Pressfield, Turning Pro, phenomenal. It's only a 2-hour Audible. I really like it because it basically says, pros show up differently than amateurs. Amateurs are talking about the market, is interest rates, and like whatever, you talk to like a pro athlete that just won the Super Bowl, and they're going to win next year. They're not complaining about they lost their wide receiver to free agency that scored a gazillion touchdowns. Then I'm going to win the Super Bowl and I'm just going to get to work. Right. So in real estate, knowing your numbers, knowing the market, KCM, that's why we do it once a week, to help you guys be able to articulate that, track your numbers. I'm highly confident. I've talked to so many agents that have no idea what's going on in their business, and they're not able to actually articulate, what does it take for me to set a consultation and sign up a client and get a closing, right? So we've done other trainings on that. You definitely want to put yourself in a position where you know your scripts and you can play the game. Write this down. Marry the process, divorce the result. That's the essence of turning pro. Right? We're not going to get discouraged. We're not going to give up if we set an appointment the first 5 minutes. We've committed to the process of 3 hours of lead gen a day. Right? So we may set 3 consultations, and that's a pro level. Great news, guys. Hardly any agents will do this. I hope all of you do it. Hardly any agents will do this. Number 7, I'm going to go through this one quickly. This is probably the hardest one if you're at a difficult position in your health and you've neglected your physical body to turn around. So don't do all of these things at once. This is like atomic habits. Do little things to pivot in these areas. I believe you have to commit to a certain number of training sessions every week, whether they're cardio or weightlifting, 2 of each. If you haven't worked out in 10 years and you're 100 pounds overweight, it could be a 15-minute walk 3 times a week. Do something to move your body. Hydration. It's like you can live 30 days without food, but only 3 days without water, right? So you've got to hydrate. People claim to hack sleep. I cannot hack my sleep. I've tried. I only got 6 hours of sleep last night and I'm dragging ass today. I'm already on like multiple cups of coffee, not healthy. I need 7.5 hours, for me to feel on point mentally. Eat real food. Nothing hard about that one, but if it's processed and it comes in a bag, it's probably not something that's going to aid your ability to perform at a high level. Some of you need to go on a straight up detox from everything digital. On the iPhone, you can set limits on different apps. Highly recommend it, or at least go into your phone and see where you're spending your time. And then maybe make some commitments to do some of the apps that are high on there. Just put a reminder that will pop up and tell you like 15 minutes is up. And you're like, oh crap. And then you have to make a conscious decision to go back in. And then I do recommend some sort of practice around daily quiet time. Really good daily devotional. What the heck is it called? Something that I can't even remember it, but one app, a meditation app called Abide, ABIDE. I do it every morning with my bride, Julie. Really, really good. New Morning Mercies is the name of the devotional. Really amazing. And then First Things First. It's a lesser known book by Stephen Covey called First Things First. Highly recommend it. There are different seasons where you'll be able to dig in more in business and sometimes less in business. And in order to not have regrets, you need to honor those seasons. You don't want to look at, I don't know, you don't want to look at someone who's on their fourth divorce, they're 200 pounds overweight, but they're crushing real estate. That may sound completely judgmental, but you probably don't want to, like, if you want to have a strong marriage and you want to not have a heart attack and you want to have a relationship with your kids and that's your season, then make sure your calendar reflects it and you're not comparing yourself. You're running your own race. It's kind of like that blinders, the horses have blinders on them so they can run their own race. And only focus on the next right thing for you. This YouTube craze, everyone is going to be a YouTube agent now. Like, is that really your right next thing? Like, that's really the thing that you should be doing now is YouTube, just because it's blazing a trail. I talked to a guy that spent $36,000 on a YouTube implementation, high quality, 42 videos created over the course of a year, like 3 years ago, and this many closings. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a 0. So that may not be your next right thing. So just focus on your next right thing. Comparison is the thief of joy. I tell my son, who's, super focused on going like whatever, like pro level volleyball. And I said, it's this whole game is you against you. And I'll get emotional thinking about it. The market doesn't matter. Interest rates don't matter. Like, you think they matter, but they don't matter. This whole game is you against you on the daily. And it's you negotiating with yourself and talking yourself out of doing the things, whether it's getting uncomfortable on social media because you don't want to go live on Facebook and do a market update, or if it's you're fearful to call your database, or if it's whatever it is, you're addicted to your phone. It's all you versus you, which is awesome. And it's going to be super messy. Lots of grace you need to give yourself if you have people in your world along for the ride. This took me way too long to realize that everyone has lots of stuff going on. If you talk to someone long enough and you ask them questions like, what's going on that's a struggle right now in your life and your business? Everyone has major stuff going on. So just if you're bringing someone into your world as an admin or a showing agent, just realize that it's all messy, it's all challenging, and you'll get through it. So the reason I put this beautiful picture, like, anybody have a prettier family than my family? Probably not. This is the typical Christmas card that we sent out for years and years and years and years. Nobody ever responded. You get these cards, you're like, oh man, their family's like way better looking than my family, or whatever you think. That's what I think. We sent out this card one year. After this is like all the time we sent out, and Matt got the card. 100 responses of people that came out and said, best card ever. This is life. This is the real life. It is a shit show on the daily, and we're just keeping track of enough of it. And we have these things we're trying to achieve in multiple areas, and we just don't let any of the 3 or 4 things that are massively important to us, we're keeping our eyes on those things. And it's going to be different times where we're crushing it in different areas, but on the overall, we're pushing towards those areas. So it's not like this. All your friends are on Instagram and they're on vacation. If you have 100 friends on Instagram and they go on 2 vacations a year, you're looking at 200 vacations on your Instagram. And if you didn't take a vacation this last year and you're seeing everyone on vacation every week, you're going to think you're a loser. Like, why can't I take a vacation? Right? So that's where the whole, like, you're looking at other people's outsides and comparing them to your insides really gets the best of you. So don't take yourself so seriously. First time Julie took a picture of me, she has now 50 of these pictures in a special album on her phone. The first one was in the middle, and it says, I never dreamed I'd grow up to be the world's hottest husband. And my fat roll is blocking but here I am crushing it. And she showed me this picture and I said, do not post that on Facebook. First thing I said, but then I used it as an ad and it was our highest performing ad. So people do want to know the reality of what's going on, even when it comes to content or relationships with your with your clients. Just be honest about what's going on, and you'll build an incredible business. My dad was in AA for, I don't know, like 50 years, more than, yeah, from like my age 15, no, not 50 years, like 30 years, from when I was age 15. And the one takeaway, challenging relationship with him that's really helped me lately is the serenity prayer. And so even if you don't believe what I believe in your faith, it still is massively valuable. So God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. There's just so much comfort in that. The stuff we worry about so often, it's stuff we can't change, right? And it just captures our thoughts and it gets the best of us. All right, guys, I know I've got you over. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for bearing with me as I get choked up, and so much love and respect for you guys. And we'll see you next week. We're in a new month and we've got a new agenda. So if you're new to our world, welcome. Come back. We'll talk to you guys soon. Be good. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lars.